Welcome to the record player, everybody. Sean McCann is a singer, songwriter, author, public speaker, a recipient of the Order of Canada, a solo artist, and co founder of one of the most popular and successful bands in Canada, Great Big Sea. And most impressively to me, he was able to sing Mary Mac on stage every night without screwing up the words. I can't get past the first verse of that song. So good for you.
Very challenging athletics going on with Mary Mac, but I may have screwed up some of the words over time.
Well, a lot less than I have, I guarantee you. He has a new record out called Shantyman. Happy to be joined by Sean McCann. Happy to be with you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good to be here.
Um,
Always.
oh yeah, anywhere for that matter. Are you in Ottawa?
I live in a little village just outside of Ottawa called Manotick, and it's a nice little small town. I'm from a small town in Newfoundland, and we really enjoy it here. We moved up here about 7 years ago now, so it's definitely home for me. I do a lot of, I'm a sea kayaker, and there's no sea here, but the St. Lawrence River has proved to give me a good spin every now and I can get to Gas Bay for my paddling. So, and there's tons of great hiking. I've been doing a lot of hiking in the Gatineau Hills. So, I mean, the shanty man lives in the woods and he lives on the water. And as long as I have those two elements, I can function well.
Hopefully, you haven't become a Sens fan. That's all I have to say.
No, I've never followed hockey. I played defense in high school. I thought that's I devoted far more hockey time to hockey than playing guitar. um, but as I got into university and stuff, I kind of fell away. But I'm decent right D. If anyone needs a good pickup scrimmage player, I'm your guy.
Your new album, Shantyman, is your sixth, I believe, solo record. It's a
Yep.
collection of sea shanties. Tell me a little bit about this record and where the inspiration came from to do an album of these particular songs at this time.
Well, I've always I have an active file of shanties. I mean, I was a shanty man in Great Big Sea because I could sing those songs, but I also was a bit of a folk nerd, and I really love those songs, and I love finding them. So I went from a philosophy major into a folklore master's program to learn where to find them and how to go about it. And I've had this bucket list. I've got 82 left to go in a file, active. And it kind of evolved away. I got away from singing. I still sing them in my live shows because people want to hear them. And I still love those songs. But I got away from recording them because they were kind of, I was trying to get away from, well, to be honest, they can be quite triggering for an alcoholic. A lot of them are about drinking. But I've managed to whittle down. I've got like 82 that are not overtly about drinking, but they're just about the work. And they're the best ones, honestly. There's some beautiful songs from the lumberjack tradition and the sea tradition. And anyway, I started to sing them a lot when we started to turn the corner into Christmas last year. I found myself singing, reaching for the file and singing these songs out loud in the house. And my kids are like, "What are you doing, man? What is that?" Because they're into like rap or whatever. They know my history, but these were new songs to them, even though they're 400 years old. And I started to toy with the idea of, maybe I should, I don't know, maybe I should demo some of these because they felt really good in my voice. And the reason I was doing it was to keep my voice in shape because I was just doing virtual work and no real live stuff. So then I demoed some, and I was on the fence. I didn't know, what I would do with them. And then one day my son comes up to me and he says, "Dad, you're going to be cool again." And this was Shanty Talk had arisen, and for that second on the internet, it was massive, which was good in some ways, but I mean, it became the source of ridicule very quickly. But I thought, the kids didn't realize this, of course, but on a philosophical level, I saw a real strong metaphor here that these songs were meant to be sung to give us the ability to do hard tasks by working together. And that's what shanties are designed for. And there's no harder task than what we face now as a human race than conquering COVID. And the only way we'll do it is together. So I immediately saw this as a kind of the karma of all this. Like, this makes perfect sense to me. Of course, the shanties have shown up. Now, of course, it was lost on the kids, but they were drawn together, and whether they realized it or not, the shanties were doing their job. They were bringing people together and getting them through a hard time. So
Yes.
I decided to commit to it and start to spend some money and make a record.
You answered my TikTok question, so that's one down.
Oh, I'm sorry. I tend to ramble.
That's all right.
Apparently, I'm not good enough. Like, I tried to set up a TikTok, and my son just said, "Just no, forget it.
Well,
You're not TikTok worthy."
who better to sing the Wellerman and get on that trend than the Shantyman himself?
Yeah, it was a bit of it was definitely a trend, and I don't know. I felt weird on TikTok. I'm kind of technologically challenged some ways, but I managed to keep up. On the first, there was Twitter, well, Facebook and Twitter, and then now Instagram. I mean, how many more do I have to? I mean, I've learned enough to know that the more you create, the more you have to keep creating. That's what I am now, apparently, a creator.
I've capped out on social media. When I listened to your solo stuff from your first solo record, Lullabies for Bloodshot Eyes, which was 2010, when I listened to your solo stuff progressively through, lyrically, it's obviously way different than the band. It's a little bit darker, a little bit, more deeper, I suppose you could say. Did the songs come from a different place when you know that you're writing them for you, when you know that they're Séan McCann songs and not Great Big Sea songs?
Yeah, I mean, Great Big Sea was very much, it evolved into more of a brand than a band, and it was very clear like what our job was. I mean, and I mean, I chafed under that bit quite a lot. For one record, I submitted 30 reggae songs. That didn't go over well. But I was always trying to write outside the box, and that wasn't really what we didn't agree. That wasn't the accepted norm. It was, and occasionally I'd hit a song that was great for Great Big Sea, but I always wrote for the fences. I wrote as best I could, whatever it was, and I was, over time, I became drawn into songs that said more or meant more or affected people more or affected me. It became songs that didn't rely on the formula we had, like songs that went out and around them. So when I started chasing the truth, I think I really found my real voice. I think I got to be a better writer and a better singer because those songs meant more to me, and I think because of that, they ultimately meant more to the audience I was trying to connect with and reach. And I think that's why I'm still here. I mean, I fumble forward, and I never know how things are going to go over, but I do see the reaction. I do feel like that what I've created in my solo life has had an impact on a lot of lives, and that's what it's for, really. That's what it has to be about, to be real.
On this new record, you work with Hawksley Workman, you work with Gordie Johnson from Big Sugar. When you're making a record, do you kind of have a bucket list or a list of people that you'd like to work with, or do you just, as you're recording it, do you say this Gordie would be good on this song?
Well, yeah, I mean, Gordie's been on my bucket list for a while. Hawksley actually produced this guy here, Fortune's Favor, which is my favorite Great Big Sea record, and I haven't seen him since. I think we almost broke the poor fella. Like, the band was at odds at the time, and he was forced to be more of a referee, and he managed to navigate it, but I think we caused him some harm. Like, he had a hard time. But I think the songwriting, that record was an evolution for me, and it was hard to make. But I love it. So he's always been on my bucket list, and ever since. And this project, I didn't know I hadn't really been in contact with him, but I knew that he could do what I needed done. And what I needed done was bass and drums. And I know, like, I don't know if everyone knows this about Hawksley, but he's like the best drummer in Canada and the best bass player in Canada. Like, and he's just one guy. So I knew we couldn't be in the room together. But this was like a very practical approach to add these instruments that I was trying to play myself pretty badly. I knew he was way better. So he agreed right away. Like, he was into it. He listened to the demos, which I had made here in this little man cave, all the vocals and guitars and my tin whistles and stuff. I gotta show off my tin whistle collection over there. See?
Right.
Yep, got them all.
Great.
my, my wife is still wondering why I need so many of those. And hang on, I make sure I don't. I think so much for that. The effects. There we go. So he really dug it. Like he was into it, and he gave me his A game. He played the crap right out. I loved it, and blew it up, and it was really cool. And so then I'm like, okay, now I've got to serve the song here. I can't just put this. This is no longer my personal pandemic project. This is a record, and I've made so many records that I know when something sounds like a record. And I had the bed tracks. So I got J.P. Cormier, who's been on my bucket list for ages, as fiddler, great fiddler, very unconventional, just very quick play too. So I got him, and that was easier than I thought to get. And then, but then I had this, machine, this monster, and I had to mix it. And Gordy Johnson, I'm a huge fan of Big Sugar, and we did a lot of touring with those guys in the States and in Canada. I love the band, still love the band. But and I always wanted Gordy to produce a Great Big Sea record. I wanted him to produce the record after this one, and we actually sat him down in St. John's one day, and we asked him, what would you do if you had the opportunity to produce our next record? What direction would you take? What would be give us your vision for what we're doing? And he said, what's that thing you play, that drum thingy you play, that little drum and one-handed thingy? And I said, well, that's a Celtic Irish goatskin drum. That's called the boron. And he said, I'd take that thingy you were playing there, that skin thingy, and I'd make it loud as fuck. That's what he said. And my boron heart just went, woo, that's great. This is going to be the best Great Big Sea record ever. And I looked around the table, and of course I was the only one who felt that way. So when I had to choose who was going to do this, I'm like, who's my guy? I always wanted to mix one of our records, and it was like no brainer. Called him, and now I can honestly say that the boron is loud as fuck. Yes,
as it should be.
As it should be, definitely.
Much has been said about your departure from the band. It's been widely discussed over time by yourself, by Alan and Bob. Take me through the process, not without getting into, you don't have to get too personal about it if you don't want to, but take me through the process.
Oh, I do. Oh, yes.
What was the decision to leave a band that was so successful and so, so comfortable, really? Obviously there's reasons why. We know those have been discussed as well. That was something you had to do. You didn't have a choice. You had to do that. Well, take me through that process.
Well, we were struggling anyway. Like when your record company comes to you and says, "Let's do a greatest hits," that's never a good thing. I didn't want to do that. And then Alan was unavailable for a couple of years. We were really done. We felt like we weren't writing together, or we were gone in different directions. And of course, this was stressing me out. I was drinking even more, and I already had a problem. And it just brought everything to a head. And I was long over. I needed to get off that bus. I couldn't be in recovery and be in that environment. So the choice became fairly clear. It was made very clear to me by my wife, and we talk about that we wrote a book called One Good Reason, which we released in the beginning of the pandemic. And that's the story of how we ultimately overcame this, my addiction, and dealing with that stuff. But that's, when it came down to it, people asked me what I miss about the band. Of course, I miss the money. We left a lot on the table. But, I don't miss anything about the living in addiction and living in that world. I know I'm very lucky because I've lost a lot of friends that were in the industry over the years. And I'm still here. So I made the right call. There's no doubt about that. No regrets.
Well, you have to. When you're in the music industry and you're surrounded by that. I don't think a lot of people realize that you're always near alcohol. You're always near, the drug culture. It's always there when you're in the music world. You don't play bars anymore. You don't. Obviously, you keep yourself away from that, and getting away from the band was a big part of that.
Yeah, I've evolved into more of a musical keynote. I do concerts when I can. I'll do theaters. I don't go to bars anymore. That would be foolish thing for an alcoholic to do. But I've managed, it did limit my scope of work. I mean, my opportunity wise, I mean, it's a lot easier to sell beer than it is not to sell beer. But I've taken a stand in that regard, and I've managed to survive in spite of that, and hopefully I can inspire others. But I mean, it is a problem in the industry or whatever's left of the industry. But in our case, I mean, we were Canada's favorite party band, I guess, next to the Hip. And I mean, everyone wanted to drink with the guys from Newfoundland, and that was part of the brand. We sold that. That was what we, that helped build our brand and our sell tickets for us. We sold. It wasn't just singing in our songs. It was like, no, we're selling a lifestyle, and the lifestyle is forget your problems, have a drink, sociable. Here we go. Tonight's Saturday night, whether it's Tuesday in Winnipeg or Wednesday in Sault Ste. Marie, it's Saturday every night. That was our job. And it was we drank a lot. I drank the most. I'll take full responsibility for that.
The one time that I saw you guys live, I was working for HMV at the time, and I did get backstage, and I did get to shake your hands and meet you, and I don't remember a thing about it. So I mean, that's obviously the culture from the band spilled over to the audience as well. You
I remember you.
Yeah, I don't remember me from that. You're getting to writing a book. It must be very therapeutic to write the book with your wife, who is in that field. I tried to build a Billy bookcase with my wife once, and it almost caused a divorce. So I mean, good for you to be able to do that. But did that kind of, obviously, it must have helped the situation for you to get that out.
Yeah, I mean, I figure you're right. It was hard, but I mean, I wrote the book by myself. That was the plan, and it took me a long time because I'm dealing with the roots of my own addiction, which is, everyone drinks and uses drugs for a reason. And I mean, I was sexually abused by my priest when I was a teenager, and I had to come to terms with that, and live with that, really, and I had to do it soberly, which was very difficult. And I kept that secret for a long time, and it was a hard book for me to write, and but I worked at it and worked through it, and as I thought it could help other people. I mean, I've been sober. I'll be 10 years sober November 9th. So I've been sober like 7 years when I started the book. So I felt like I could do it. But when I finished it, it felt a little bit incomplete to me. Like it was a good book, but I couldn't write it any better. But there was something missing. And then Andrea pulled out these journals that she'd written in real time during these episodes in our marriage in my life that I'd forgotten because, quite frankly, I was drunk or stoned. And they didn't portray me in the best light for sure. I mean, they were there was no tidying them up or sugarcoating this stuff. But they really spoke to the impact. Addiction doesn't live in a vacuum. Then her truth really spoke at an impact to the impact it has an addict will have on those around them, and it's usually those that person loves the most. So I really think that blew the book up. That made it more than a book in some ways, and I know it's touched a lot of lives out there. But it ultimately is a very positive book. It's about using music and love to overcome addiction, and we get there at the end, and we're still together. So, yeah, I know what you're saying. It's hard to even put the shelves together, but we survived the book.
Tell me about
it. We're still going strong.
You've been involved, obviously, in so many other facets other than just music when it comes to your charity work. You've worked with veterans. You've done work with a lot of mental health work, obviously. You must be very proud that you were given the Order of Canada. That's a very high honor. How did you find out that was something that you were getting? And I mean, obviously, how'd that?
I got an email out of the blue asking me if I would accept the honor, and I didn't know how that had come about. I still don't know. Complete surprise, and I think I know it's nothing to do with Great Big Sea. It's because of the work I've done in addictions and recovery, and apparently, the people that I've worked with over the last decade, they kind of wanted me to have this award. So I was very moved and honored and humbled by it. I don't know. I put a lot of weight in that award. I think it matters, and it's nice to be acknowledged in that way, and it's very encouraging that someone notices. A lot of this stuff is, it's hard to do, and you don't get a lot of. It's not that you're looking for credit, but you want it. You want someone to say, "Hey, good, good on you," I guess. And it also gives me a bigger platform to continue. What I got from that was keep up the good work,
Yeah.
because it also brings with it a responsibility not to stop.
Right.
So if it added to my reputation, then I've got something to live up to, and I will.
Well, good for you. Very well deserved. You touched on it earlier when we talked about the shanties, but just to go to the traditional music, when I think of, I mean, your voice is synonymous with such great songs, Mary Mac and The Night Patty Murphy Died, and my favorite of all the songs that you sang during that time was Captain Wedderburn, which I know you've done live with Sarah Harmer. Um, you kind of touched on it earlier, but when it comes to choosing those songs and how which songs you're going to record and which songs you're going to perform, you said you've got a bank full of them. How many of those old songs still creep into your live set? Like, how many of those songs do you still perform? You said not to drink.
I take requests, and the audience kind of puts up with me, and I mean, I have my own fans, but there's no getting away from the Great Big Sea legacy. A lot of that we did, touch a lot of lives. There's no doubt about it. So when people ask me for requests, if they're a good audience, if they sing along with me, then I'll sing along with them. And I'll and it's funny. Some of the requests are they're good. Like, they're not just the standard hits. There's some of them are very evolved. Force me to think
Deep cuts.
and go back in time. But I'll always try. I always, if I don't hate the song, I even do Mary Mac. Sometimes. Yeah, I do. I still manage to. That's my test. When the day I can't do that, I guess I should start sitting down and playing concerts.
So at our age, Captain.
Not there yet.
At our age, Captain Wedderburn is probably a bit closer to what I could do. But the you're out doing live shows again. You're performing. You've got some stuff coming up. What's it like to be on a stage again? I mean, obviously, it just must be amazing after 2 years off.
Yeah, I went to Manitoulin, actually. It was the first live stuff I've done, and that was a couple weeks ago. My friend Nimke's Wemigwans, who I did Canada Day July 1st with. So that was the first time I played live in 18 months. So that was the thing. It was really good to just get out there and kick off the jams and get those muscles working and test out some of the new shanties. So next week I'll be out east, and I'll be in, like, that was primarily for high school students and Indigenous youth in general.
Mm-hmm.
So these will be the first real concerts, where I'll seated indoor audiences that are paid tickets. And, I'm just really looking forward to it. It is what I do. And I know there's going to be a real long tail to this COVID thing. Like, no one's really talked about this yet, but the financial impact on musicians will be long lasting, in the sense of basically everything stopped 18 months ago, and there won't be any new business until all that business goes through the machine. So it'll take, like, even for touring Shantyman, I managed to get some stuff out east, but I won't be able to tour this anywhere else in Canada in a meaningful way for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
The venues they don't have room. It's just the calendars are full. And I know there's going to be hundreds of people like me in the same boat. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not sure. I mean, I've diversified into keynotes, and when conferences, I did a conference virtually yesterday, and I'll continue to do them. I guess that's my bread and butter, but I don't know how things will evolve that way. But it's not over. Like, there's going to be an economic tail to this that will last for years, for sure. I'm going to find a way. If anyone will find a way, the Shantyman will find a way.
I have faith. Was it by design to do it, to start at home in Newfoundland?
Yeah, it's that's where it all kind of starts with me, and I need to be. I think it's a good place to start is by the ocean. My favorite parts in this country are the oceans on either side, and the mountains, and I love being outside. Give me the forest and the hills and the rocks and the trees, or give me the waves. And that's the best version of me. you'll find off a stage. But when I'm on stage, ever since I've sobered up, I've been at my best self. I've been my best performer, and I stand by that. I've found my voice. I have a lot more to give now, I think, a lot more to offer artistically and vocally in many ways. So I just, it's definitely become, for me, it's become more than it's a concert. It's literally, it's like my meeting. I don't have a program that I'm a part of. I just don't. This is it. My conferences, my musical keynote messaging things and concerts, that's my meeting, because I'm face to face with people, and I share truth in a meaningful way. That's what meetings are. That's what programs are for.
The album is called Shantyman, out now on all streaming platforms, and on SeanMcCannSings.com.
There it is, the Shantyman himself.
Good looking guy on the front cover there.
Yeah,
go to Sean.
It's a good looking CD.
Go to SeanMcCannSings.com. You can still get a signed copy, I believe, unless those are all gone. I hope not, because I won't.
No, we've sold almost 600 of the 1,000 though, so we'll sell them all, and I think before Christmas they'll be gone. Excellent. I think. So yeah, we're numbering them all and limiting. I won't make any more. I just wanted to add value. We sell digital downloads too, but I'm not going to stream them. I'm not going to give the songs away until I break even, at least. And I'm unfunded.
It's a great album.
I have just.
It's a great album, and I think you're going to break even soon. Trust me. Thank you so much for joining us, Sean. It's been an absolute pleasure. It was great meeting you again, sober this time. Stay safe and all the best.
I don't remember you. I wasn't sober either.
I don't remember you. That's the funny part.
I don't remember me either. A lot of me anyway.
Thank you so much, Sean, for being with us on The Record Player. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening, Record Player. Keep it up. Don't give up.